This is problem 9.13 from Brigham and Houston, Fundamentals of Financial Management, Concise 9th edition. You're considering an investment in Justice Corporation stock, which is paying a dividend of $2.25 a share. So start writing down what I know. D1 is $2.25. And now we start looking at a mix of other elements in here. We got a beta, a risk-free rate, and a market risk premium. If you remember, the capital asset pricing model, which was introduced in Chapter 8, says that the rate of return, expected rate of return, required rate of return on a share of stock is the risk-free rate plus the market risk premium times that stock's beta. All right? That's the capital asset pricing model. In the discounted cash flow model, we have K is equal to the dividend 1 year from now divided by the price today, the dividend yield, plus the capital gains yield or constant growth rate. If your dividends grow at a constant growth rate of G, so does the share price. So G represents the share price growth, the capital gains growth, and it's also the same for the dividends, the share price, and for earnings. Pretty strong assumptions. In theory, these two models should produce the same numbers, except that all the inputs are measured with error. I can look up in the discounted cash flow, I can look up the price today, and if it really is a constant growth stock, I can forecast fairly accurate what D1's going to be, but that growth rate could change. Okay, and so while with some of the stocks we look at, this is a pretty good indication. There's a lot of stocks that don't have a constant growth rate, or they have abnormal growth, or it's hard to really forecast with accuracy what that's going to be over the long run. Same with capital asset pricing model. I can look at the inputs, the risk-free rate, that I can look up, but I don't know what the market risk premium is. I can look up estimates of it, and I don't really know what their beta is going forward. I can look at what their beta was, but I don't know what their beta is going to be because I'm measuring it with error, and the beta can change over time. So while in theory these two provide the same answer, in practice out in the real world they don't. But this ain't the real world. This is the college world. So what I can do here is just write down what they're giving me and then solve for the pieces and then slap them all together, because that's all this problem's doing, is walking us through the concept. So D1 is 425. There's a beta for Justice Corporation of 0.9. The risk-free rate is 4.9%. The market risk premium is 5%. So under DCF, or rather under CAPM, so CAPM K for this company, which should be the same one that we would use under the discounted cash flow, that would be the risk-free rate plus the market risk premium times 0.9, or 9.4%. All right? I am given a share price of $46. So I could plug these numbers into the DCF model. If 9.4% is K, and I take the dividend of $2.25 divided by the current price of 46 plus the long-term growth rate. All right, so if I reshuffle all that stuff around, then the growth rate would be equal to K minus D1 over P0, which would be 9.4% minus 2.25 divided by 46. And so plugging those numbers in, 9.4% minus D1 over P0, and I get right around 4.5% as the constant growth rate. So that'd be G 4.51 with rounding. So what does the market believe the stock price will be at the end of 3 years? If I wanted to use the DCF model into the future, the price at the end of 3 years P3 would be equal to D4 divided by K minus G. Okay, so all I have to do now is forecast dividends. Year 1, 2, 3, 4, because I'm going to need D4. If 225 is the dividend at year 1, then the dividend in year 2 would be that times 1 plus constant growth rate. There's my D4. And to solve for my answer, P3 would be equal to D4 divided by K minus G. And I'd get around 52.51 as my price. All right, that's problem 9.13.